everybody. Welcome back to the Beyond the Peloton podcast. I'm Spencer Martin, author of the Beyond the Peloton newsletter. I'm here with Andrew Vontz from the Choose the Hard Way podcast and now newsletter. He's on Substack, folks. Find him. Find it in the show notes. You can check it out. But he's also got big news to share with us. Big news. Fans of this show are going to lose their minds when he reveals what it is. But we also have a new title sponsor for the show. Join Cycling was kind enough to reach out and say, hey, you guys like to ride? And hey, Andrew rides a lot and is in very good shape and is very good with his intervals. And Spencer never seems to do intervals or have any type of training plan. How would you like an app that gives you an AI-generated training plan? And I'm not good with coaches, Andrew. I've never been good with it. I don't know what it is, just my personality type. But even you sent that training plan, I think that was like 2 or 3 days ago. I did it. It's just like something about me, just my I guess independent spirit. I'm like, halfway through, I'm like, who wrote this? Do they know what they're talking about? But with Join, it just generates it. I do it. I don't have to deal with another person telling me what to do. And the best part about it, you're not going to like this, is they've integrated running recently. So I'm in Austin, Texas right now. This morning, might not have time for a ride. I'll just say, hey, switch my workout to running. Boom, it generates me a little run workout. I can say, hey, I got a little bit more time today. I traveled. I don't have as much time, and it will modulate your workouts for whatever you need. It can kind of generate anything. You just put in what you need. It generates a great workout that you can go do. I'm very excited for this interval workout, and there potentially could be some sort of Beyond the Peloton race/event at the end of this year after we've done our big training block with Join Cycling. But why don't you talk about it for a second? You were more the training man of this duo. I've been out of the training game for a few years.
Yeah, Spencer, don't sell yourself short. I mean, we all know that you're well on your way to becoming a run club leader in Boulder. You probably have a Taco Tuesday planned. You've got
That's why I'm in Austin. I'm down here. Yeah.
Totally scoping out like which brewery are we going to have our, arts and crafts /run community thing happen from. Spencer didn't say this, but I believe you also are aiming for a win at a P12 race in what, like 2 weeks? Are you ready to announce this?
I don't think that's going to happen. I've been doing some intervals. The sensations are not good. I don't think it is supposed to be 75 degrees. It was blizzard. I flew out of Denver last night, blizzard. So I was thinking, I'm off the hook. I don't have to do this race. Fantastic. No, it's supposed to be 75 degrees next week in Boulder. The Buff Gold Road Race, I might show up. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Day before Roubaix, I'll be pumping with adrenaline.
Right.
And we know. Thing about Boulder Road Races, they've been on gravel for like 40 years. But everyone just raced them on road bikes. I'm thinking about going out with the gravel bike. I'm going to have a secret weapon.
Interesting. And yes, as you mentioned, blizzard this week, but we know even if it were not 75 degrees next weekend and there were a blizzard and there were 100-mile-an-hour winds, those are actually considered moderate conditions for racers over the age of 30 years in Boulder. And in fact, if you're 50 plus, I don't think they even race unless you have 60-mile-per-hour winds or greater. So Spencer, you've got the Join app. You're well on your way. It's adaptive. Whatever's going on with you or your schedule, you just go in there, let it know how much time you have to train, what your objective is, what the race or event you have that's coming up. And it adapts with you. And, sometimes I like to get a little sneaky myself. As you know, yesterday I was celebrating the tariffs with my Drip for Democracy heat training session in the garage. If you didn't catch that on Instagram, I can guarantee there's going to be some really great follow-up content today with some graphic, moist footage, lots of sweat, gratuitous sweat. I was wearing a balaclava in addition to my other heat training gear just to keep it really stealth out in the garage. And you may notice, yes, I am officially kicking off my pursuit of my best Masters gravel season yet. Eat, pray, love gravel. And Spencer, after an exhaustive multi-year search, because I didn't want to settle for anything less than the perfect partner, I am going to be partnering with Lauf, who I think makes the coolest and best gravel bikes in the world. I'm really excited to be working with them. And I'm going to be on the Lauf Sigla with the Grit suspension fork. So you'll see me out there. Some of the world's biggest gravel events, like the main gravel series, Frosty Fondo coming up here April 12th. If you're in the Mid-Coast region, pull up. I'll be out there on the Lauf, and a number of other events, including Overland, which I'll be doing with my buddy Zach, the founder of movement.cc, who I advise. Pretty excited to be squeezing into Overland and many races in between. Follow my Instagram at HardwayPod if you want to see the gravel action. I've been studying the bike reveals of some of the biggest gravel pros who every 12 months are giving you the astonishing information that they are on a new bike. I actually have overthought this, Spencer, and I think that this maybe is the week, now that I'm talking about it here publicly on Beyond the Peloton, that I actually do that big Instagram flex with the bikes, because I'll be on the Sigla and on the Utald all-road bike. Pretty excited about that. And also wanted to let you know, I've got what was an exclusive interview with Chase Warwick following the Mega Mid-South. I was the first person to interview him. I had the freshest interview. It's now out on Choose the Hard Way everywhere you listen. And I've got new stuff dropping at alwaysthehardway.substack.com. Find that link in the bio. Subscribe. Become a paid subscriber. Support greatness. Help me help you.
And we should say, if you want to try out Join, you get 30 days free if you use our special link in the show notes. There's a URL. It's join.cc/campaigns/beyond-the-Peloton. A little hard to catch it on the fly, so just hit it in the show notes. Yeah, this is not a joke. Andrew has Lauf bikes in his garage shipped to you. I've been watching for the reveal on Instagram. I've not seen it yet. Have you? I've been wondering, have you like pre-taped it, or are they still in the box and you're going to unbox them?
You'll just have to find out.
I cannot wait. This is like a multi-year process that's come to completion. It's quite exciting for all of us.
Yeah, I wouldn't accept anything less than the very best, most innovative gravel bike partner. And now I have it, Lauf. I think the only thing that's missing from this partnership is possibly you, Spencer. And I feel like this partnership needs to advance to the level where we're going to Iceland to do the Rift gravel race. And Lauf also now sponsors the Rift mountain bike stage race. Is it possible that we'll be on Lauf mountain bikes competing in the Lauf mountain bike stage race way over our heads, but probably producing some of the best content that we've ever put out? Yeah,
amazing.
We'll find out. We'll find out.
I mean,
the Volcano Boys. Yeah.
I'll have to run it by the higher ups today. I could get a little messy with my other bike sponsor, but I don't believe Ventum makes a mountain bike, unless I'm totally wrong. So that could be my in there. You know, going to the Rift would be amazing. Also, it's funny, like Lauf, I didn't know, Icelandic company. And then our friend Jonathan Kaplan, who's met everyone, Rahm Emanuel married him, was his officiant. It was like, oh yeah, I was just at the Lauf headquarters. Like, what?
Where have you not been? Popped over there on a Tuesday afternoon. And he's like, oh, you have a Lauf hat? Yeah, the founder of the company gave me mine, signed it.
Yeah, I was just at the office. It's a lunchtime flight from DC. But Andrew, we got to talk about the Tour of Flanders coming up on Sunday.
Right.
I think best race of the year. It's definitely one of the biggest races of the year. You'd say Tour de France in its own level. I think I like it more than the Giro in the Vuelta. You know, a lot of people like Paris-Roubaix. I think Paris-Roubaix is a little, I hate to say this, a little bit overrated. Can be a lottery. Tour of Flanders, it's truly the strongest rider. Speaking of strongest rider, you'd say, well, Mathieu van der Poel, Tadej Pogačar, Wout van Aert, right? Maybe not. If you saw Dwars Vlaanderen on Wednesday, did you watch this? Have you happened to seen this race?
I did watch it. I'm a cycling fan.
Yeah, I'm doing like a Flanders preview newsletter. I'm looking at it right now. It's almost ready to go. I have a little breakout Dwars breakdown in this newsletter. So I've watched and rewatched this race. Let's go with the positives. Visma, like Wout is on the attack from like 100K out. The man is just like on the front of climbs, blowing up the peloton. Like looks like he's training. there's a small road, very narrow. So the echelon is very small. There's crosswinds. Visma gets to the front, just rides off the front. You're like, whoa, we're going back in time. They're good again. They also smartly have a line of riders, and the last rider doesn't go with them, just sits up. It creates a split. It's genius. They don't get a big gap. They bridge the 40-second gap to the breakaway, which has Nielsen Palace in it. But they're like, 10, 15 seconds in front of the Peloton for 20, 30 kilometers because the Peloton's like, hey, those guys are all on the same team. We should chase them. They start, so they're not really like attacking Palace. They drop everyone from the breakaway but Nielsen Palace. But then they're just like pulling them in. Like I have multiple screenshots of Palace just sitting last wheel, like constantly for the last 10, 15K. The worst part is I get to 300 to go. There's a final corner. Palace's last wheel, Wout's second to last wheel. They're clearly just leading Wout out because at this point he said, I want to win this and I'm going to win it in a sprint, which you should never do if you have 3-on-1. Maybe try and attack. They have like 40 seconds. They got a little room to move here. And the most obvious thing is you go to the last corner. The first rider goes. The second rider lets the wheel go. The first rider just starts sprinting. Palace has to go after him. That leads Wout out. That would have been the clever thing to do. Instead, they just kind of like lead him out. But you got to remember, what was I saying? Wout's been attacking from 100K out. Tej Manute, Matteo Jorgensen, the other Visma riders, they attacked with 70K to go. They've been pulling hard the whole time. So it's not a great lead out. Like none of them have a ton of power. Palace has been sitting in the wheels the whole time. And then he wins the sprint because Wout cramps up. Shocking thing to see. As time has gone on, you're like, well, it kind of does make sense. Like, why did they think that why would they do this? Like, I'm just going to win it in a sprint. It's like, yeah, dude, you've been on the attack for 100K. Sure, Palace was attacking, but he was much more, I guess, selective in his efforts. It turned, I guess, what was supposed to be in like, wow, it's got his confidence back into a complete disaster. So I would be surprised. I think I was listening to Lantern Rouge and Benji was like, does Visma feel confident if Wout goes to the line with Pogačar and Van der Poel in a sprint? And Patrick Bro was like, I think they'd be pumped. And he works for Visma, so it's funny that he's talking about this, but he's like, I think they'd be pumped if he could even make the front group, which is how I feel at the moment. Like I did not get a ton of confidence from this performance, even though they were impressive. What did you think, Andrew?
I mean, I think if you run the tape back, we rewind and we end up in the same scenario. So let's say we have a time machine. I've been thinking about this a lot. There, of course, were a lot of Wednesday afternoon quarterbacks following the race, including Wout's own teammates who made some public comments that I would
they
like
to not pleased.
Yeah, that I would like to discuss. I think, and then is it Grisha? That's the DS, right?
Like Gershon Niemann? Something?
Yeah,
that's how you say his name.
Yeah. Also, a lot of like public self-flagellation. I'm thinking that if you do this again, you have a star who's had 2 potentially career-ending wrecks in 2024 coming back. You're trying to build their confidence. On the road, he says, hey, I got this. I'm going to win this sprint. I think you actually do the same thing. I think it's that important that you give Wout the shot at getting the win. I think he needs it to improve his confidence. Did it turn out to be the wrong decision? Yes, it did. Wout, like a truly great leader, immediately took responsibility for it. Maybe took it, I mean, it's understandable how hard he took it. I would like to see him shake it off. I'm not sure he's going to be able to do that. But like, we're talking about a Galactico, one of the very greatest riders of all time in a slam dunk situation. And from what Wout shared, he cramped up in the sprint unexpectedly. He didn't know that was going to happen. And I think that this win would have been extremely important for building his confidence. So it ends up backfiring. It's a freakish, in my opinion, that it didn't work. And it's very easy now to say, no, they shouldn't have done that. But like, let's play out some other scenarios where, I don't know, let's say they start rotating through, everybody's attacking. I think Matteo, had he attacked, like, he's probably getting away and winning. I think there's already a tremendous amount of tension within that team, and particularly between Jonas and Matteo. Like, do you really want to now have that wedge between Matteo and Wout, which by the way. You now have that wedge in this massive... due to some of the comments Mathieu made following the race, I think that relationship's probably fraught. And we can get to this in the transfers section of the conversation, but I have this feeling that Mads Pedersen and Mathieu might be going to different teams in 2026. That's kind of my view. I'm skipping around a little bit, but that was my read on what happened. If you were to do it over again, you have a Galactico on your team who needs a boost, and it's a seemingly easy win against a rider that they believe 99.9% of the time they're going to crush. I think you gotta let Wout have a shot if he says, I can do this.
Well, yeah. Well, first of all, the cramp show, he apparently cramped in the sprint. We believe him, obviously, because why would he wouldn't lose that otherwise. But the cramp shows why you would never leave that to a sprint. Like, just, you think, well, this is 100%. I'm going to win this. Well, you never know. Like, even what if he skipped a gear? Just stuff can happen. But it's funny you say this because this is in my unpublished newsletter, Andrew. I'm reading it right now. So what's on Sunday? It's a battle between Wout van Aert and probably two of the best classics riders of all time. Actually, going by stats, the best classics riders of all time in terms of success rates. Like, no one has ever, in their first 6 starts of Flanders, been better than Mathieu van der Poel. No one's been better in their first 2 starts than Tadej Pogačar. So you're going into a brutal fight with 2 of the best riders ever. Who's going to win that for Visma? Let's say Visma wants to win Flanders. It's Wout van Aert. He's the only one that can do it. What does he need to win that? He needs a lot of confidence. How do you give him confidence? He wins this race. He slays the demons from last year. This is the race where he crashed and kind of ruined his season. And by the way, Matteo Jorgensen just left him and rode on to win, which we applauded at the time. But when you start to think about all this, you're like, oh man, because you're right. If they start rotating attacks or even they sit up in the final corner, Matteo Jorgensen wins. It's like, well, is that good of a situation for Visma? Potentially no, because then it's Matteo's second year winning. Is he now the classic star? He just won Paris-Nice. Is he the GC star too? It starts to get complicated. Like, they needed Wout to win this. And that makes sense to me. Also, that's why Nielsen Palace won, because he also knew they needed Wout to win. So he said, I'm just going to follow Wout van Aert's wheel because they're not going to attack their own teammate. I know this, and I will try to win the sprint. I mean, also kudos to Nielsen. Like, woof.
Yeah.
That's a lot of confidence. And he didn't have a great chance. So he just played it's like, hey, this is my only chance of winning. Let's go. Let's do it. Also, kind of an untalked about fact is EF was chasing in the Peloton behind pretty hard, like keeping that gap at 30, 40 seconds. That kept Visma from being able to attack. Looks weird, but then it also means I'm kind of curious. Like, so if Matteo Jorgensen attacks, does Nielsen even follow him? Or does he say, I'll just let my team reel us in and we'll try something else once they catch us? But we'll never know what happened. I agree. They had to have Wout win. If we view this race through the lens of it's about Flanders, it's not about Dwars. I mean, like, Pogačar and Van der Poel don't even show up to this race because it's not that important in the grand scheme of things. So I don't think Visma need to pull out all the stops to win Dwars, but the aftermath is now worse than losing, if that makes sense, because you're just saying, like, Jorgensen was, I don't know, almost not like inappropriate, but he was, like, I think overly critical and maybe sharing too much. The line just should have been like, yeah, that was the plan. We were all behind it. Didn't work out. Sucks. We're going to try to win on Sunday. Yeah. So I'm trying to think of a way to frame this within the greater Flanders conversation, the greater Flanders metro area. Mads Pedersen. Let's talk about Mads. As you mentioned, he might be leaving teams. He won on Sunday at Gent-Wevelgem with an incredible solo attack. The guy is flying. Also, what's crazy is he's in the same shape he was in on Friday at E3 when he was a minute behind Van der Poel. Yeah. Like, that shows you how much better those guys are than the rest. But he wins Gent-Wevelgem. I think he's got a chance, like a snowball in Austin, Texas, his chance of surviving and winning on Sunday. He's going to have, if you think about it, he'd have to get out in front of the race, which he tried to do last year. He attacked with like 100K to go. And, George Hincap, he's losing his mind thinking, what's he doing? He's throwing the race away. But I think he knows his only chance of winning is to be ahead when they hit the final circuit because it's so hard, and then get reeled in and then win a sprint, or something weird happens, he attacks and gets away. I don't think he can stay with those two guys on the final climbs. It's so hard in Flanders. Let's take a little detour on Mads. Why do you think he's leaving the team? Like, just give people background on this.
With Mads Pedersen?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a conflict with Jonathan Milan. Jonathan Milan is the new Mads Pedersen on Lild-Trek. In fact, I haven't looked at Jonathan Milan's race calendar. I would think you would want, he's not at Flanders. I have to think that they're deconflicting the battle space because I don't think that these two guys can work together. They're very similar profiles of riders, and we know that Mads had that conflict with his lead out man about a month ago, and he also was told that he's not going to be on the Tour de France squad. And this is a former world champion, and we saw what he did this week. This guy's on the form of his life. We also know, based on public comments he made last year, I believe that prior to this season, he had never been to an altitude camp. So I think he's got 0.5% or more improvement. That's a huge amount, maybe like 0.25 to 0.5% improvement to make in his numbers, which for a rider at that level at this stage in his career is something that almost no one gets to tap into. So Mads is going to go, I think, to an even higher level at this point in his career. Former world champion, making moves, looking fantastic in the classics, being told, yeah, actually, you don't get to go to the Tour, and you're not going to get the primo squad, although he is here at Flanders, right? So I think they're throwing him a bone. They want him to be happy.
Well, he is 20 kilos lighter than Milan. So to be charitable to Lild-Trek, maybe they thought, Milan, you stay home today because it's kind of a climbing race. It's like, realistically, can he do it? And they are both going to be at Paris-Roubaix together the weekend after.
Okay. All right. I think just looking at Milan, and I think the rider he's most analogous to is Filippo Ganna, and I believe that'll be his trajectory over time. I think we'll see Milan go from super long drag race sprint winner to becoming like a Ganna hybrid, Island of Dr. Moreau, shout out Val Kilmer, kind of project that can do everything. And I think what that means for Mads Pedersen, who is coming into the form of his life, is he needs to go to another team because he definitely wants to go back to the Tour de France. This is a rider in the prime of his career. He doesn't want to be on the bench.
The Tour thing is really weird. I hadn't fully digested it until you texted it to me recently, and you'd think, yeah, world champion in the prime of his, in the best form he's ever been in his life, not going to the Tour. Really strange. I think the argument from Lild-Trek is, well, you can't take both Pedersen and Milan because they overlap too much. My pushback on that is Alpecin de Koning is taking Mathieu van der Poel, Caden Groves, and Jasper Philipsen to the Tour. Right. Those are three sprinters essentially, and they're going to make it work. So actually, both if you look at this Tour parcours, both riders would have chances. There's flat sprints for Milan. There's a lot of difficult stages for Mads Pedersen. I guess Mads doesn't want to lead him out. I don't know. Maybe there's more to the story. Are we sure Mads wanted to go to the Tour? It does seem weird. I agree with you that it seems hard that he would stay there if he can't do the Tour de France. I don't fully understand that. Also, some crazy Mads Pedersen facts. He's younger than Van der Poel and Van Aert. He has more career wins than Wout van Aert. Only 3 fewer than Mathieu van der Poel. He also has more Tour de France stage wins than Van der Poel and Remco Evenepoel combined. Or no, the same number as those guys combined. So a really good Grand Tour stage winner, not going to the Tour. It's weird. I admit that's strange. Let's say he left. This is always in sports, we got to fire the coach. We got to fire Malone. He's a bum. Then you think, well, who are you going to hire? So if Pedersen leaves, where does he go that's a better situation than this?
Well, before I get to answering that question, I want to point out another, seems to me, glaring omission from the Flanders roster for Lild-Trek. I know he's a sub 25K race link specialist now. Where's Quinn Simmons? Isn't it time for Quinn Simmons to ride Flanders? Seems like his kind of race.
Yeah, great question. I wonder this all the time. Quinn Simmons, I don't know if we talked about it, won a stage of Volta Catalunya on Saturday. So almost a week ago. It was super. It was a 30-kilometer stage. The guy was putting out massive watts. Quinn Simmons, for some reason, the man's 73 kilos. So that's about, I believe it's about the same size as Pedersen, maybe even heavier. So 73 kilos, really powerful. He insists on he does 1 week stage races, climbing specific 1 week stage races like Catalonia and Basque Country. That's what he's doing this year. He has often done the Ardennes Classics. I don't know if he's ever raced the Cobbled Classics. Unclear to me why, because he's physically perfect for it. I don't know if that's a team decision or a Simmons decision, but that's a guy that should be, I mean, look at like Nielsen Palace. I think he was 5th at Flanders recently. Would you say Nielsen Palace is any stronger? Also, credit to Nielsen Palace wins. I don't know if we said this. Good job winning. Dwars, super impressive.
Nice work. Yeah, very
second
impressive.
time an American has won that race in the last 2 years. I don't think an American had ever won it before that. But like, would you say Nielsen Palace is better than Quinn Simmons in the classics? I would say probably not, but just based on their physicality. And then you're like, could Simmons be top 5ing at Flanders and he's not there? It's really strange to me. We saw his bike in Tucson. We didn't see him. Maybe we should track him down and ask him that question.
Yeah, extremely wide tires. Looked like he was running maybe 32s. One other thing I want to point out about Mads.
Actually, looked at him 34. That's what he was running.
Whoa. Okay. All right. Look at that attention to detail. Mads is 29. So this guy is not going to sit around on a team not sending him to the tour. I don't think there's any way he goes into the 30th year of his life thinking, I'm not going to the tour in 2025, and I'm going to stay on this team that may not send me there in 2026. So I don't see that happening. I think he's gone.
I mean, you're right. If he can't race the tour, if they're saying you can't race and then he's also not racing next year, he can't stay at the team. I don't know if there's a personal problem with Milan and he says, I can't be on a team with this guy, because you'd think Caden Groves and Philipsen, like, how are they going to be on the same team? They're clearly making it work. It is, yeah. I'm like, I have no words. It's actually such a strange situation that a rider of Pedersen's ability to win stages, maybe he's otherwise engaged. Maybe he's got some awesome vacation plan for July, and he says, "Sorry, I just can't make it, guys. Tell Johnny to win a stage for me." It is kind of curious. Giro d'Italia, is he going to win the points jersey there? You'd assume probably, I guess. But then couldn't he have just backed up and done the tour? And he is going to the Vuelta World Championships, not on the table this year because it's a climbing worlds. Or is he like big brain and he's thinking, no way this world's in Rwanda goes off with the M23 rebels taking territory. I don't know if that's their name. I'd just be thinking of Michael Jordan's number, but taking territory in a neighboring country. Apparently the Democratic Republic of Congo has told Trump that if they send active U.S. troops to fight these Rwandan forces who are backed by the government, that we get, the U.S. government gets like precious metals in Congo. So it's not totally impossible that the World Championships could be going on while U.S. troops are in the same country fighting a war against the host country. So potentially that's not going to, maybe Pedersen has inside info. He's been talking to Jonathan Kaplan, knows that that's not going to go down, thinks it's going to turn into a parking lot crit in Switzerland outside the UCI headquarters, and that's his long game for the season. That would be my only explanation for why he's not on the tour.
Yeah, I want to take two detours. One, while we're talking about rare earth metals, I keep getting sent some spurious information from highly educated people I know. Like a friend of mine who's got multiple postdocs, extremely smart person, sent me the stat this week. Alarmist. We only have 70 years of copper left on Earth. The International Copper Association estimates that based on current reserves and resources, there are approximately 200 years of copper resources left with 40 years of reserves. And by the way, copper is infinitely recyclable, making depletion unlikely. So this is the trade association. It would be in their interest, I would think, to make you think that this is going to run out, and they're saying, "Oh no, this is not true." So, Justin, just for your situational awareness, something I wanted to go back to this Quinn Simmons win for a moment. Some people, some corners of pro cycling fanhood, making comments that this win doesn't count. This was, in fact, Quinn Simmons' first ever World Tour.
Isn't that crazy?
And yeah, it is crazy. Quinn also, he's super young. What is he, 23?
He's 23. I was like, man, this guy needs to win. He needs this.
Yeah.
How long has he been pro? He's been pro for 4 years.
Right. On the other hand, for the level of talent that I believe Quinn has, if we think about him relative to people who have the same level of talent, because I personally, I think Quinn, this is not me making a joke, I think he has Galactico level potential. And I think, seeing the death of one of his colleagues in front of him, I think has completely changed his trajectory as a professional cyclist. And, that's intense. I can't imagine seeing that happen in front of you in a bike race. Setting that aside, I think he's Galactico level talent. And we have to then benchmark him at 23 against riders like Pogačar, I think. I mean, not the same body type, but I think Quinn's potential is massive. And some people saying hey, this was kind of like a joke stage. It was only 30K, etc. I just want to say, hey, these, the GC teams and GC riders sat that out. Also, these are World Tour cyclists. I don't care what length the race is. It's not easy to win a World Tour race. So it's not like people just sat up and Quinn, they're like, go ahead, Quinn. It's the Tucson shootout. This sprint is yours. They don't do that on the shootout either.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Yeah, but this win counts. Hats off, Quinn Simmons. Congratulations. And something it did make me think about, Spencer, because I know here on Beyond the Peloton, we think about many possible futures in our simulations of the future of professional cycling. What if you did have a 30-kilometer race with a World Tour Peloton that was full gas? What would that be like?
I don't know if I want to see that. That would be so
I mean,
dangerous.
Can you imagine the risks people would be taking? But that's what we got. I mean, if you watch the coverage from, there were the stoppages due to the wind. The other thing I saw a lot of on social media and from pundits was wind. Wind's not dangerous. Why would you stop a race because of wind? I guess these are people who did not grow up and do not live in windy places and don't understand the interactions between things like deep section carbon wheels, or even I shared with you, I was riding this week and there were gusts up to probably 30 miles an hour, which you would think oh, that's not that big of a deal. I was riding on rims that are maybe 25 mil tall, and it just almost blew the bike out from underneath me when I was riding across an open field and there's just this massive gust of wind. So you actually you can't do that safely when you have 180 people riding 35, 40 miles an hour. Doesn't work.
I think maybe you said this on the podcast. You're like, how do they ride? How does UAE ride those wheels with the wind?
Yeah.
I just don't think it's that windy in Europe. I don't think they're dealing with the same thing. But Quinn Simmons, 30K of racing in that stage almost makes it more impressive because the sprint behind was fresh. It's not like these were fatigued riders like Pavel Bittner, Grand Tour sprint stage winner, second. Leonard Van Etfeldt, that guy's one of the most powerful end of race uphill sprinters I've ever seen. He's fourth. Ethan Vernon, sprinter, fifth. Dorian Godin, one of the best small group sprinters in the Peloton, seventh. Axel Laurence, really good sprinter, eighth. These guys were sprinting full out behind Simmons, and Simmons was just in the saddle with probably 36 mil tires, just motoring away. And I think, when Jack Burke says Matteo Jorgensen's not talented, it sounds ridiculous, but this is what he means. Quinn Simmons is super talented, more talented than these Americans that are getting major results. Here's a question, and it hurts me to say this. Yes, the crash, the tragedy that he witnessed certainly affected him. He went pro at 19, I believe. He went World Tour in 2020. So yeah, he would have been a teenager when he went World Tour Pro. I loved it at the time. I thought screwed. Why does anyone go to U23 is a cesspool. It's a mess. I think it sets a lot of kids back that are super talented. Avoid the U23s. There's nothing there for you. Did he go pro too early though? Because it's he has had this odd, clunky career. And it's maybe not a good idea to be a professional at 18 years old, but I mean, what he's probably making like 300,000 euros at 18, living in Europe by himself. That could be like part of why he's never fully like settled into that versus someone like Jorgensen that's gradually kind of turned into a rider that, is living by himself in Nice, learning French, making a little bit of money, then making more money, and just kind of comes into his life in a different way than Quinn Simmons.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know Quinn Simmons personally. I've never interviewed him. I would like to. And he won the the junior road world championships. And then from there, it was like, well, what's the guy going to do? Is he going to go do CBR crits? And you know what I mean? Because there's just not a lot in the United States.
He won like in 2019, pretty much every race he did. If you go look at his pro cycling stats, it's insane. In the past, what would have happened is you would have then joined like Action Hagens Berman, something like a U23 program. And then you're right, you're racing like Tour of the Gila. You're like, was that really I think that's not good for a lot of riders. If you truly cannot make it in the World Tour and you're 19, which most riders can't, yes, it's nice to develop, but I feel the same way about basketball players. Like if you're ready to go at 19, like get to the pros as soon as possible because you're going to learn bad habits when you're racing at Gila and you're as strong as Quinn Simmons.
Yeah, and I think really big part of why we haven't seen the full expression of his talent. I actually think it's the same thing that we saw with Wout in the past 15 months and that we have now seen with Jonas, which is unfortunately, once you realize that you're not riding around with a force field and you're not immortal, I think it really diminishes your capacity to express your talent in professional cycling because the risks that you have to take are actually life and death risks, and you have to be willing to make those decisions and you can't think about it at all. And I think once that thought enters your head of what could happen if, for example, your tubeless tire blows off your hookless rims while you're going down a mountain at 60 miles an hour, I think it really changes things, and it's pretty hard to come back from that. And again, like I don't know Quinn at all. He's started to talk to the media a bit more in the past 2 years, and he comes across as like a very thoughtful and emotionally mature person to me, and that's unfortunately not always to your benefit as a professional cyclist.
It's a good point. Yeah, he potentially is just too smart. The awkward segue, who's not thinking about their mortality, about being hurt? Mathieu van der Poel, Tadej Pogačar, Tour of Flanders.
Thinking about his Lambo and with the Antwerp dealership. Yeah.
It has been really interesting to watch Van der Poel. It's like him and Van Aert used to be better. It's crazy to think. But then Van Aert's in the race, probably like, I got the kids got to go to bed. They got this. It's like, what's going on in Van der Poel's head when he's off the front? It's like the Lambos, just a line of Lambos is all he's thinking about. But I'd imagine that one of these two riders are going to win on Sunday. If you're like, what the hell's a Tour of Flanders? You've never seen it before. It's on Flow Bikes. Watch it as early as you can on Sunday. The action starts from so far out. I often feel like it's written in acrylic or something. I'm always so confused when the race finishes. I'm like, how the hell did that happen? But I think it's going to be great race. Who do you think is going to win? I have a preview that I've linked to in the show notes, by the way, if people want to learn more about it. But who do you think is going to win?
I'm going with Pog. And you said that you like Flanders more than Roubaix. I love Flanders. I find the finish, and when I say the finish, I'm talking about the parcours, just like the physical finish. I find it to be really dull.
It's really weird, right?
Right. It's that long, like, what is it? Like a 3% downhill into a very long flat sprint on a straightaway, right? Like they're on a highway, aren't they?
It's like a road outside of a town. And it used to be, they controversially changed it. It used to be in the middle of a city, like a beautiful city. And they changed it so they could sell. It's kind of interesting what they did. They had a cool route. It was a little bit more like casino-y. Like people could just get away. Like Stendevolder won 2 years in a row because he attacked at the right time. It's harder now, and it most importantly goes over the same climbs again and again. So they sell tickets to these climbs, and that's why they changed it, because they could make more money that way.
Yeah, on Wednesday you could actually see where they had they have spectating gigantic tents set up along the side of the climbs. that you'll see in the Tour of Flanders. So they had them set up at Wednesday's race. And they do interesting things, like they route it, just past places where they can easily set up fenced off areas where they can sell tickets, which, makes a lot of sense. That's how you can make it financially viable or get more incremental income. Just it makes it a bit more boring than finishing the Roubaix Velodrome, which is always amazing. So my money is on Pog. Something that I've thought about a lot is I've been rewatching all the classics back to 2017, as I know you have, Spencer. So I like to take a race and then I'll watch, multiple editions of it. Something that we've seen with Van der Poel in almost every victory, going back to this risk-taking mentality. I mean, the guy, he has to be the best bike handler ever in the history of the sport. But if you think about Roubaix last year and some of the riding that we've seen this year as well, he just is going all over the road, the gutters.
He uses them as like terms. It's crazy.
Yeah. I just have to think, there's so many times when you're watching him ride where you think this isn't going to work. And I mean, we saw it at the World Championships in Scotland, of course, where he had the wreck, which he recovered from and still won the race. I do have to wonder if his streak of good luck might unfortunately come to an end. Like, I don't know how long you can do that. If he can do it forever for his entire career, great. But I mean, how many times have you been watching him and just kind of gasped audibly, like when you see him slide off the road and his wheel goes sideways and somehow he saves it? Can he do that 100% of the time forever?
Yeah, no, I was thinking he's got a lot of good luck. And his team, they got a new tire sponsor last year, and they've had a lot of flats since then, and he never seems to be affected by that. Eventually, that's going to bite him. Crazy thing about Van der Poel is you like Pog. I kind of want Pog to win, but man, Van der Poel, he's won 3 editions. He's tied the record for most ever wins, and he races for the first time in 2019. That's unbelievable. That's better than Eddie Merckx, better than Tom Boonen through their first 6 races. If he wins on Sunday, he has the record for the most wins. That's crazy. And he's in like the best form we've ever seen him. But this is wild. So if someone's plus 100, it means if you bet $100, you get $100 of profit. Pogačar is minus 139. That's almost unheard of in a one-day race. Van der Poel plus 150. So Van der Poel's the underdog. Mads Pedersen plus 1,000. Wout van Aert, to show you how far he's fallen, plus 1,400 to win. Holy smokes. Van der Poel's the underdog, which is crazy because you'd say he's probably in the best form of his life. He's won this race 3 times already. He doesn't have to drop Pogačar. Pogačar has to drop him. I hate to say it, but I think Van der Poel's going to win. But here's a crazy little stat to leave you. I was putting this together on the plane last night. I kind of couldn't believe it. So you're like, Van Aert, what's the deal? He's never good in these races. Well, do you remember he's won a monument? It's Milan-San Remo. He's gotten second at Flanders, his best ever result. That was in 2020 at Flanders. Do you remember when those races happened? They were in the fall. They were not in the springtime because of COVID. He's actually not a good spring racer if you look at this, because he's started 9 monuments in the spring. Best result, second at Paris-Roubaix. Never won one, though. But then this is even crazier. He has 28 World Tour wins in his career. Only 8 have come before May. That's 28%. This is going to blow your mind. Mathieu van der Poel, 23 World Tour wins, so actually less than Wout. 65% of them have come before May. So a very, very, very good spring racer. But then it's just like, all right, because you think like Van der Poel, is he better? Is Pogačar better? Tadej Pogačar is 4 years younger than Mathieu van der Poel. He has 70 World Tour wins to Van der Poel's 23. And that doesn't show you that Van der Poel's bad. It just shows you how little he races and how much like he calls his shot. But as you say, like how it's worked out for him. Like he doesn't race that much, but it always works out and he always wins. He's also gotten, if it's crazy to think, like, remember 2019, he was like riding without his hands, falling on the sidewalk. He was just like all over the place. And then he's just like turned into like this almost Terminator. He's just always in the perfect spot. He always makes the right decision. I must feel like it's happened so fast that we've all, and it's all like just a big glob in my mind. We've all like not noticed that he's just so good tactically and strategically and is also very talented.
Yeah, and he's 30 years old. In my mind, he's like 22 or something. I don't I don't know why.
Is that crazy?
Yeah, he's 30. And this is a sport where, it's like Logan's Run. Over the age of 30, like generally like you're sent off the planet. So yeah, I thought that I had, like, I didn't share this when we were talking about some of the racing action earlier in the week, and Visma, no one has brought this up. It's certainly not the primary factor. I do have to wonder if taking your entire team and taking one of the most important pieces of equipment that propels your bike forward and connects your body to your bike and changing the length of that might not actually be the best idea, even if in the lab it gives you some kind of advantage. What am I talking about? I'm talking about, we know that Visma made a shift to much shorter cranks this year. And we know like that's in vogue for aero reasons, for power production reasons. Also, not all teams are doing this. Dan Lloyd actually he's done this handful of videos that I thought were really interesting, where he went around. It was at the UAE tour, so not an entirely representative sample, but he went around and talked to men and women at the World Tour about their handlebar width and their crank length and asked them, like, what are you using and has it changed? I would say 50% of the riders, Spencer, just had no idea what they were riding. They're just like, I don't know. Like they put me on whatever, this is just like what I normally ride. And it's like, have you changed it? I don't think so. The majority of the other riders really like haven't changed much at all. Like maybe their handlebars are like 2 centimeters narrower. There aren't people riding. I mean, you've got like Taco and other people, but there aren't a lot of people like that. So I think the average rider out here in real life, not within the World Tour, I think that this is a bit of a sham. I think people have been convinced that everyone in the World Tour is riding on, 150 cranks and 36 bars. And I don't think that's actually what's happening. And I think part of the second and third order consequences of shifting to tiny cranks might be what we're seeing on Visma, because it's not just about power production. It totally changes your weight distribution. You've been doing this thing with the same crank length for maybe 20 years of your life, and you're just changing this thing like in a radical way.
Yeah, it changes like fundamentally how the bike handles too. But I had the same thought. There's a lot of newspaper inches written about Jonas Vingegaard's like short cranks, but then it felt like no one noticed. This is before the crash. Wasn't that good? So like, are the short cranks a good thing? Like everyone just assumes they're a positive, but it's the worst. Before he crashed out of Paris-Nice, it was like the worst he's looked in the early season since he's been a Tour de France contender. And then now I'm hearing he's not going to race until the Dauphiné. It's like, whoa, that's a long time off the bike. If Pogačar can stay upright, this might be like a cakewalk of a tour. Because Remco, like, where's Remco? Do we know how he's doing? He had a crash. He's not doing that well. But this is a crazy thing. I also looked into this. Mathieu van der Poel, so you hear about short cranks, little bars, blah, blah, blah. Mathieu van der Poel rides an off the shelf bike, just like pulls it off the shelf of the bike shop, and that's what he runs. So it's like the cranks are just
seriously?
Like, yeah. So it's like, I don't know if he actually pulls it off a shelf, but they just send it to them stocks and he doesn't change anything. So like the cranks are just whatever comes on that size of frame. The handlebars are whatever comes on that size of frame. And he's doing pretty well.
Yeah, he's doing pretty well. The one, again, something that we see with riders like Van der Poel, I was watching a video that a photographer in SoCal posted from the CBR at Dominguez Hills last week. It was a Cat 4-5 race. It rained during the race. So Spencer, you can imagine. You can imagine what happened. The thing that really struck me about this crash reel was all these riders in this 4-5 crit on a course that I have raced many times myself. And even when it's dry, it's in an office park and there's a very fast downhill right sweeper in the third turn. And because it's an office park, they run the sprinklers on the weekends. So you'll be going into this turn like 40 miles an hour, and there's just, a small stream of water going across the road, like at the apex of the turn. So the course can be a little wet even on a dry day.
I was riding recently, and it was a beautiful day, and it just got so windy and started to rain. I was like, somewhere a criterium is starting. Like this,
totally.
Like, all right, guys, it's rainy and windy. Get the race started. Let's go.
Absolutely. The thing that struck me in this video though was this Cat 4-5 race. All these riders are racing without gloves on.
What is the deal with this?
I'd like put gloves on. Like, what are you doing?
I don't understand this. Even at the World Tour level. Put some gloves on, folks. What are we doing?
Yeah, it's bananas. But Mathieu van der Poel famously rides without gloves. You're not Mathieu van der Poel.
You're not Tom Boonen. You're not van der Poel.
Yeah, just wear
gloves.
Wear gloves. Wear some gloves. That's the advice for the week.
All right. Well, Andrew's got Pogačar. I got van der Poel. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I don't think anyone else can challenge them. I mean, I could be wrong, but the Flanders is the most honest race of the year, and these two guys are the strongest of all of them. Ghana is maybe racing. I think Ghana is going to win Roubaix. Don't blow your Ghana bankroll right now. I got a future on him to win Roubaix at a great price. But thank you, Andrew. And do you have anything to share before we sign off?
Well, Spencer, I just want to know, how far out do you think the attack's going to go?
Oof, that's a good question. I think Pogačar, like we saw last time these three raced, Pogačar, Van Aert, and Van der Poel will attack, will leave the rest, maybe with the Pedersen in tow. And then the winning move, I think it comes on the Claremont, just like it did at E3. So what's that? That's like, they do it multiple times. The last time over, it's like with 18K-ish to go. I think that's when the winning move goes. But I think those guys leave the Peloton long before that.
Yeah, I'm now imagining a scenario where Wout, Van der Poel, and Pog go at maybe 80K out. We all, of course, would expect it's going to be Pog or Van der Poel who win. And then there's some kind of stalemate going into the finale, and Wout improbably sprints to victory while sitting third wheel.
That's what would have happened to Wout when Wout was like the favorite,
Yeah.
What the heck happened? How did he lose this? Well, I guess what I just said makes no sense considering my pick, because if Van der Poel wins, he's not going to drop Pogačar. He's going to have to win it in a sprint. If you remember 2022, Pogačar couldn't drop Van der Poel. They come to the line. It's actually exactly what you described. They're kind of like dicking around, and the group behind them catches them, and Pogačar gets caught and gets fourth, and Van der Poel ends up winning. But that is how one of these guys doesn't win. Van der Poel won in that case, but he easily could have messed that up or got boxed in by the chasing group and lost it. So that would be like how Van Aert wins. I guess, yeah, if I think Van der Poel's going to win, he has to win it in a small sprint over Pogačar. But also, just on another topic, crazy to think, like, you think Pogačar, okay, he wins all the time. Of course he's happy. Think about 2022 and 2023. So he doesn't win. He wins the Tour in 2020, wins it in 2021, loses it in 2022. Wait, hold on a second. What year did he get fourth at this race? So in 2022, he does Flanders, loses, like really stuffs it up in the end, gets fourth, isn't on the podium, loses the Tour. And then again, the next year, loses the Tour. Like, the guy's gone through, like, can you imagine how many riders have lost the Tour 2 years in a row after winning it and then come back and won it? Like, he does actually have more perseverance than people give him credit for.
Yeah, and now seems invincible.
Yeah, now he seems invincible. It's like
he's got a force field. Like, good luck.
Yeah, it's funny how perception is reality sometimes. It's like he was the fragile one. Vingegaard was the unstoppable one. Now Jonas, concussion is also, I should have said that, not racing because of an alleged concussion. Not looking good right now, not looking good for Pogačar's Tour de France competition. But I guess anything can change, especially when you're racing the Spring Classics.
Yeah. Please follow me, alwaysthehardway.substack.com. You can also find me on Instagram at hardwaypod. Follow my journey as I drip for democracy and V-Train. Check out Join Cycling, and thanks for Lau for coming on board. I'm looking forward to graveling with you.
All right. We're all very excited for you. I can't wait to see these bikes, but have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk after Flanders.